Welcome to Green Dragon Studio and to training on the rare continuous palm set from the Southern White Lotus system. Not unlike the Honan 5-animal twist wind palm form, this entire set is executed with open hands only and represents devastating potential for circular combat applications, especially when combined with high-level strength development programs like Stone Warrior, and particularly so after slow use of authentic on palm training. In keeping with our standard procedure, one very well received by the 5,000 members of Green Dragon's extension family, we'll first move through the entire form at a little better than 3/4 speed to give you an overview of the quickness, flow, rhythm, and circular complexity. The set is performed at a moderately fast pace. We'll move now to two slow motion views of the form, one in the same direction as just viewed and one oriented to the camera. As usual, we stress that this is not the main teaching methodology that Green Dragon employs. That will be coming up in the instructional segment sequence, which will follow. As should be obvious to you, the continuous palms form is an excellent fighting set in almost every respect. While it appears to some not to be technically difficult, on first impression at least, such simplicity is a deception. It is very fast. It employs both angles and centerline attacks, including many quick circular step-around patterns, and it is loaded with compound movements of all kinds, a factor which gives it great versatility and represents timing challenges even to very advanced students. Likewise, despite being only some 45 to 50 steps in length, the compound circular nature of the movement gives it the potential for virtually unlimited individual combat applications. As with all predominantly southern styles, this one stays on the ground completely, emphasizing the intricate handwork and utilizing the legs for rapid maneuvering rather than tying them up with various kicking techniques. Moreover, even though the name would suggest that only palms are used, the set actually employs the open hands in a variety of ways that uses all parts of the open hand from fingertips to knife edge. Like many of the major Kung Fu styles, White Lotus is actually a system in the sense that it was formulated from the major material of many different styles. The background most commonly accepted, as explained on the introduction to other White Lotus tapes from Green Dragon, is that a group of eminent masters trained in a number of different fighting styles were thrown together by force of circumstances during the Great Underground Rebellion designed to overthrow the Qing dynasty that took place in the latter part of the 17th century. While conducting all of their training and their activities covertly, as was the manner of all secret societies existing at that time, just one of the reasons that tracing origins in the Chinese martial arts is so difficult, sometimes impossible, these masters pooled their extensive knowledge by cross-training their membership in the skills and specialties of each other, a process which eventually resulted in the creation of an enormous resource base of both empty hand and weapon sets, in addition to many rare and exotic strength enhancement programs. As we go to our second slow motion view here, we might say, in regard to what was previously mentioned, that estimates of the total of White Lotus fighting sets range on up into the hundreds, though the actual number will never be known by anyone. Of much greater importance than quantity is the result of what the combining of all this knowledge signifies to the Kung Fu stylist, who is fortunate enough to have access to a large cross-section of White Lotus material. Margie Smith, your performer here, is one of the strongest and most accomplished female Chinese-style martial artists in the world. She is in her 13th year of consistent training, has accumulated some 80 to 90 major fighting forms and exercise programs from over 25 different kung fu styles. She is the Green Dragon specialist on White Lotus material, the favorite southern style of Sifu Allen, and she has mastered a wide cross-section of exotic Oriental weaponry. Her physical power is exceptional, as will shortly be seen in a brief block-breaking demonstration prior to her doing a series of combat applications from the form. As previously stated, we'll be moving shortly to what is the main teaching structure which Green Dragon employs on our tapes, that of breaking our sets down into instructional segments of from 4 to 6 steps each, with the attendant recommendation that you spend 1 to 2 weeks of hard work on each segment before proceeding to the next one. In this way, you are learning the form generally in the same manner as it would be taught right here in the home studio. In the case of White Lotus continuous palms, the form has been broken into 8 teaching patterns of 4 to 6 steps, depending on how you would want to count some of the circular compound movement. And Margie will be doing at least 2 views of each instructional segment. The first view keeping the integrity of the order of steps and the direction intact. The second time through, she will keep to the order of steps, but will employ whatever direction gives the next best secondary view. Looking now at instructional segment number 1, which will basically consist of the salute in and then 1 step. The problems encountered with accurately counting steps will be immediately obvious right here in instructional segment number 1. There are 2 or 3 different ways in which a count could be obtained on this segment. We make it 6 counts if it's a fine count. As with most authentic Kung Fu material, there is, of course, combat applications embodied right in the salute in and salute out portion of the forms. And the first step finishing with the palm block down and palm block across with a retreating step. Moving now to instructional segment number 2, likewise 6 steps on a fine count. Some linear technique here, but as with all the way through the form,
not more than 2 or 3 steps
will go past before some celerity becomes obvious, as well as angulation from the center line in terms of the maneuver. Block and a redirectional pull blast leading to a palm down, which is score block leading to a knife edge chop for the throat. Palm strike, straight in. Sweeping block, stepping over into a twisting horse. 180-degree turn, palm block across. And finishing on the angle with the right palm strike. Instructional segment number 3 now. 5 steps by R count. And with an ever-increasing emphasis on angulation off the center line, either at 45 or 90 degrees, striking in from the side. The circularity, of course, becoming increasingly apparent as well, with deflection blocking taking precedence over any kind of power-on-power blocking. circular technique over linear technique. And maneuvering off the center line, taking precedent over staying on the center line. Going to instructional segment number 4. Will complete about half of the form and does, with its 6 to 8 steps, represent the first full month of work on the form if you follow our instructions. A lot of rapid turns online here, of course. A characteristic indicative of White Lotus material, and a feature which makes White Lotus weapons work, which is extremely complicated in some instances.
At the advanced level,
Look even more sophisticated than what it is. Turn around, back of the hand, block and or strike. And another one with the left. Kneeling horse with the inverted palm to the groin with a simultaneous rising block, ending instructional segment 4. And we move to the 6 steps of segment 5. Your 5th week of work. Side palm. You've seen now upright palm, inverted palm, and side palm. You've seen strikes with the fingertips, with the knife edge, with the back of the hand, the palm of the hand.
and we end here
with a crane stop technique in crane animal forms called Beauty Looks in the Mirror for obvious reasons. And going to one more view of that same segment, segment 5. Double palm strike, one side and one regular. Palm block across back in the bow and arrow stance. Back of the hand strike and or block down. And the 180-degree turn into the cat stance with the Beauty Looks in the Mirror technique. And once more. This Beauty Looks in the Mirror technique, of course, covering all of the top 2 gates of the body in execution. Instructional segment number 6 now. 6 steps again. Start with the grab, side chop, palm up, ridge arm strike back. Spear hand or inverted palm up block, the inverted palm block back, and turn around with another one of those 180-degree turns on line to the inverted palm, the slide-in horse stance, to the groin. Redirectional block chop, ridge arm or ridge hand strike and or block. There's multiple applications, of course, on almost all of these White Lotus continuous palms techniques. Inverted palm heel strike into the groin, turn 180, strike back in, same target area. And training week number 7 for you, the 4 to 6 steps of segment 7. Double palm strike and or thumb gouge to the eyes, or a combination of those 2 things. inverted blocks up with double palm down, windmill, inverted windmill blocking to the spear hand up or vertical palm strike in, once again as previously mentioned.
Potential applications here of multiple measure.
And in the second view, the thumbs for the eyes while the palms strike to the temples can be clearly seen. I'm sure she will employ that in that manner in her combat applications as well. And ending on the palm block down. This will bring us to the end of 2 months worth of work, instructional segment number 8, and the last steps to the salute out, which could be 5 to 6 steps by a fine count. As previously mentioned, in a form with the type of compound circular movement that continuous palms has, there will be a virtually unlimited number of potential combat applications possible. Senior students extracting applications or man-to-man techniques from forms at this level could find a number, no doubt, in the hundreds as far as variations are concerned. Before we go to how techniques from this set are to be used in terms of principles of application, something we always tend to focus on at Green Dragon rather than just mechanics of application, we'd like to take a moment to scan a portion of Green Dragon Studios picture board. This displays photos taken at lectures, workshops, seminars, and public demonstrations of all kinds over the past 25 years. And as we do that, we'd like to point out once again what we feel to be the two biggest problems in the Kung Fu arts today, regardless of style or system. Namely, of the three main principles of all Chinese-style fighting: closing the center line at the earliest opportunity, using a minimum of 3 counts in attack or defense, and creating pressure by focusing on constant penetration. Of these three, the first and most important, closing the center line, is not being sufficiently emphasized in the majority of schools today. White Lotus Continuous Palms, of course, teaches that. Secondly, of the three absolutely essential requirements for effective self-defense, that is, knowing what to do, having the strength to make what you've learned really work under realistic conditions, and having the mindset to use what you know under pressure, the second of these, the strength to ensure that your techniques will really work against a big, strong, determined opponent, is not being developed in most of the students in most of the schools throughout the nation today. Developing the level of physical power necessary for most self-defense applications to really work requires some of the more demanding Chinese exercise programs like Stone Warrior, Iron Vest, or Iron Palm training, programs which most teachers do not even have, let alone entertaining the fact that such power development sets, when they are available, make strenuous demands upon the student, and few trainees will work hard enough to obtain the incredible benefits that such exercises can produce. Such, of course, is not the case with Green Dragon personnel. Senior students here are all cross-trained in such advanced exercise programs, and Green Dragon has virtually revolutionized the thinking of thousands of dedicated students who have come to realize that they were not strong enough to do what they thought they could after viewing some of the capabilities of Green Dragon's staff members. It is in keeping with that that Margie will now demonstrate the kind of power which programs like Stone Warrior and Iron Palm can produce, power which can be used to unbelievable advantage when using techniques from such open-handed forms like White Lotus continuous palms. In this case, she will be breaking two 2-inch and one 4-inch solid concrete blocks in an open-handed strike without the use of separators. Keep this potential in mind when she begins to demonstrate her combat applications immediately afterward. Usual on Green Dragon tapes, we'll again repeat the sequence from which any of her techniques have been taken, thus giving you now your 6th look at that portion of the set. And likewise, we'll be doing 3 other things that have met with extremely favorable response from all of our students in Extension. That is, first, keeping the initial 3 or more self-defense moves to just the way they occur in the form, as she will be doing right here on a fast run-through of her first one. Secondly, she will do each technique once at 3/4 speed, as she just did, and then once in a slow step-by-step fashion, as we're about to do now. Her opponent, Jim McLeod here, a 7-year Green Dragon student, attacking with a left dragon claw technique, and it becomes immediately apparent to you that she's going to employ the open hands along the routes and in exactly the same manner as the movements occurred in the form, something a lot of you like to see. And thirdly, of course, we are going to require that Marge's opponent, Jim, attack in a manner consistent with the Kung Fu arts each time. That is, he will use a variety of attack techniques from several different Chinese systems, which he knows, so that you can learn something from both sides of the combat situation. As she does her next sequence of steps, from which she has extrapolated a combat application, find in the 3/4 speed and power run through that Jim is doing a leopard fist style attack here, using reciprocating low left, mid-range right, and left high gate punches in series at her. Typical leopard style attack technique, online in this case.
She picks up the first one, leaving the center line open. On the second count, has the center line still open,
And angles and goes offline to close the center line by count 3. Breaks the arm at the elbow. Steps in, executes the edge of the hand to the kidney or base of the spine. Grabs for the groin from the rear. Equal and opposite. Chop and sweep to cut him down. After count 3, of course, typical Chinese whirlwind stepping and winding up 180 degrees behind her attacker. Better, of course, to close that center line down on count 1 if you can. Not always possible in fast reciprocating punch technique like leopard fist style attacks. From this sequence of steps out of White Lotus continuous palms, Margie will be defensing a right tiger claw style attack from flower fist form. A beginner's level set available from Green Dragon. As Jim comes in, he does an inverted hook on line. She goes offline, closes the center line down on 1 with a simultaneous finger strike for the eyes. Does one of those 180 turns from the 45-degree angle, hits down, gets up with the palm. Now that he's hurt, opens him up, grabs for the throat with the open tiger's mouth, chops for the solar plexus, inverted tiger claw for the groin, kicks him away for the finish. Opening up that sequence just the way it was done in the form, and then closing it with a follow-up series of 3 or 4 counts, just as it occurred to her to do it. From this section of the continuous palms, we'll have two applications. Jim attacking this time white ape style from 7-star Mandis. And once again, an excellent example of whirlwind stepping as Margie moves offline to her left and goes around to the back of her attack. You have the swinging back fists, so common to white ape, leading to the punches. Center line is left open initially for the first several counts. As she blocks that attack, she begins moving, of course, to her left at this point with the inverted palm of the solar plexus. Breaks the arm with what is tantamount to a white ape technique on her own. Arm is broken. She steps through, 90 degrees now offline to her opponent. Palm strike down on the spine, on the kidneys, back of the hand down on the atlas vertebrae. And again, remember the block breaking demonstration. When you have that kind of power capability, then this kind of striking is realistic indeed and makes a great deal of sense. Most women couldn't hurt anyone with some striking techniques without iron palm, stone warrior, iron vest, teak lunch, and Chuan type training in their background somewhere. Drunken style attack on this one by Mr. McLeod. Comes in to have a feint to the left high gate punch. She's got the center line closed down through the X-hand position. Vertical chop to the elbow, breaks the arm. Open backhand strike to the solar plexus or heart. Inverted palm to the solar plexus. Moving offline again, side palm to the temple or the back of the head. Chop to the kidney or base of the spine. Cuts him down by chopping to the back of the knee. Finishes him off with the backhand strike to the face. Second view now on this in slow-mo. Shows the X position, closing of the center line quite clearly. Working off to the side of the opponent, first at 45 degrees, now at 90 degrees, and moving toward his rear to wind up at 180 degrees or almost directly behind the man from where he started. In these first 5 here then, we've had already 4 different Kung Fu styles represented in the attack modality by Jim. And we go to a 5th sequence of steps. From which Margie has taken a combat application which she feels comfortable doing. Windmill style attack set up here to try to clear the line out and break the guard down by Jim prior to executing a left high gate punch. Inverted windmilling is a very strong way to approach an online attack situation. She closes the center line on the very first count, hits him on almost the same count in the solar plexus, back of the head, controlling him by not letting go of that arm, cuts him down from behind the left knee, dislocates the arm at the shoulder, swings it out of the way, palm strikes the temple or side of the throat, and palm strikes the solar plexus for the finish. Good combination all the way through and safe, but like everything else now for the 3rd time, requiring the physical strength necessary to make all of those work. Backhand hook block, palm down sequence here. 6th series of steps now from the form that we'll have something demonstrated from. And in this case, the segment will be used for 3 walkthrough illustrations to demonstrate versatility. Right middle gate vertical fist punch coming in. Inverted pickup with the back of the wrist, back of the hand. Moves 90 degrees offline left with the palm down on the atlas vertebrae. Center line closed immediately, just the way it ought to be done. Another option now, going to the X-hand position, leaving the center line open, breaking the elbow from the top down, and coming over for the backhand to the temple. Hook the neck, pull him forward, palm strike down on the spine for the finish. And a third walkthrough illustration for versatility from this sequence, give you an idea what can be done. Center line stays open again for the first 2 counts. Back of the hand down, now used as a block. Goes to the X position on the 3rd count. Moves offline to the right and hits down on the back. That should give you some idea, of course, how many different varieties of things can be pulled from the same sequence. And from this section of continuous palms now, circular style attack by Jim, coming in trying to hook offline whatever Margie would be able to stick in there prior to winding up with a right vertical fist high gate punch. Closes the center line on the very first count with the back of the hand block, controls him by holding on to that wrist, chops for the solar plexus, inverted palm up and into the groin, regular palm strike to the temple, and equal and opposite sweep and chop for the neck, putting the man down. Another look at that in slow-mo. She closes his center line down, take away any secondary technique. Extremely important in any form of the martial arts. A subject which is thoroughly discussed on other tapes from Green Dragon. Fundamentals of empty hand fighting, white eyebrow tiger hand, small fire dragon, just to name 3. And from that portion of continuous palms, we have a Tam-style attack. In this case, Jim being a performer on some of Green Dragon's Thames material, in this case the Dindaken, steps in with the typical fore and aft vertical fist striking that Tam's practitioners use. Margie closes that center line down on one, angles to the left, steps around at 90 degrees, executes a neck break technique, knocks him away with the palm thrust, comes over and down on the kidneys, breaking the spine with the palm for the finish. Again, remembering the 8 inches of concrete easily broken in a palm strike just like that. She demonstrated for you prior to starting her technique program. And from that section of the set, we have a combined kicking and punching attack, long fist style, Chuan by Mr. McLeod. Right kick, then left and right middle gate attacks, punching. Clears the line first if he can. Executes the right snap kick for the middle gate. We have a middle gate right punch, middle gate left punch, and Margie succeeds in keeping that center line closed down by the 3rd count in this case. Angling, of course, at the same time, which makes it doubly safe. Cuts across his midsection, hanging ribs, chops for the
Side and throat. Continues her step around pattern, hitting as she goes.
steps behind, cuts him down with the ridge hand and the legs in reverse style.
Strikes the downed opponent for the finish. And the Seklomo on this
Same series.
back of the hand block down and block the kick with palm block across.
Forearm block closes that center line. X block continues the closure and assists in the maneuver, making it a very safe way to execute. Chop for the throat. Chop for the hanging ribs. Step in behind, cut him down with the ridge hand and the reverse left leg sweep.
And palm strike down.
Moving on toward the ending portion of the continuous palm set now. And another very efficient and effective series employing the circular compound continuous palms. Jim faking with the right back fist to come in with the
Left vertical fist followed by
a right vertical fist, and Marge employing the moves just the way they occurred in the form to stop that style of attack.
over a dozen
Applications now demonstrated by Margie, and coming to that portion of the form where we have the combined double palm strike for the temples
and a gouge.
and either one separately in application or both together. Grappling attack this time by Jim, something that we
Discourage her at Green Dragon.
any form of grappling, referring to stick strictly to the striking side of the arts. She opens up, of course, the center line with a double back of the hand block and immediately goes to the combined palm strike and eye gouge. Grasps the head, pulls him into the left, and right palm strikes down, breaking the back. Once again, something most men would not.
Given what she said to us as a result of the power development programs that she had been on for a number of years.
Simple linear punching style attack, straight down line by Jim. Common to everything from white eyebrow to intellectual fist. Gives her something to look at and throws the left vertical fist. And then the right to the high gate. She, on both counts, leaves the center line open. Strikes straight down the center line to the solar plexus. Side palm, reverse side palm to the lower bowel. Claw hand to the eyes or throat. Reaches in, lifts up the leg and palms him backward. Steps in, tears out the groin of the downed opponent for the finish. And from the series before the bow out. Another long style attack, straight down line in linear fashion. Right kick and left punch in order. Margie defensing this. The palm down block exactly as in the form. The rising block and side palm, in this case staying on line. Now whips through and closes the center line down on the third count. Palms the temple, palms the solar plexus, working at a slight angle. Sweeps the lead leg out and stomps to break the leg on the downed opponent for the finish. In closing, we might say that the White Lotus style is one of the largest and most comprehensive of all Kung Fu fighting systems, as we pointed out. It is a style which contains dozens of classical fighting forms which have little or no counterpart in any other area of the Chinese martial arts. Both the quality and quantity of White Lotus material is especially true of its advanced weapons work, where master's level forms such as the Traveler's Cane and Warrior's Three-Quarter Staff, already available on tape from Green Dragon, represent a degree of difficulty and challenge that easily distinguishes them from all other stick sets of any kind. 3 extremely rare weapon sets from this dynamic style are scheduled to be released in early 1991. The White Lotus two-handed long broadsword, the remarkably versatile double-ended crescent sickles, and the little-known double tiger paw stars. These 3 forms are among the most demanding to be found in any Kung Fu style, with the unique crescent sickles and tiger paw stars representing perhaps the most versatile weapons known to the combat arts. These 3 sets are in keeping with Green Dragon's tradition of bringing the most complex classical fighting forms and exercise programs to our extension family, especially when they are not readily available elsewhere. Added to other unusual material which Green Dragon has introduced to Kung Fu practitioners all over the world these past 4 years, these 3 sets will undoubtedly revolutionize the thinking of thousands of dedicated Kung Fu students as to what genuine advanced level classical forms really ought to consist of. In the meantime, the staff of Green Dragon wishes you better health, greater strength, and consummate fighting skills as we train together on some of the rarest and most unusual material available in the Chinese martial arts today.